What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Izzy, right here on the Redzone Report, live from somewhere in North Carolina. We are in close to New Bern, and still got to cover training camp, little mini vacation or not, but here we are. Let's talk about what's going on at camp. What's going on, everybody? Just getting myself prepared because it's been a long day, but hey, I still keeping up with my bills, making sure everything's good at camp, and I'm here in a New Bern area of North Carolina on vacation, spending time out here in the beautiful rural countryside, and it's nice out here. So me and the family decided that we were going to come out here and time and fish and enjoy nature. So here we are, enjoying the nature that is. And let's talk about some Buffalo Bills football. As you see, the name of the show is the Keon Coleman Show. But after today and finding out the things that we found out, it's not the Keon Coleman Show as much as I thought it would be. You know, like, he's had an excellent week. I see you guys in the comments. Good evening, Izzy, Mafia family. Good evening, Sandra. Kim, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, we're here to now speak about more than just Keon Coleman, because it was going to be mostly about him, and he's had an excellent week. He's been bodying our corners. He's lost some reps, obviously, like, you tend to do. But Keon Coleman's been out there just dog walking some of these wide receivers and having himself a stellar camp. Now, there's only 3 days left in his camp in Rochester for the Buffalo Bills. And I think that it's going to be an eventful 3 days. There you go. John Robert up in here. AJ Epinesa had a nice day. He had an interception for a touchdown on a pass to Ty Johnson from Josh Allen. He also had a would-be sack on Josh Allen. And he was more focused on improvement and the negative stuff. He was like, I forgot I even had that interception, and I forgot I even had, the sack. He's like, I'm more worried about the reps that I lost against Deion Dawkins. And it's like, buddy, come on, you're going to lose some reps, especially against Deion Dawkins. Deion Dawkins is a guy who is one of the top 5 left tackles in the NFL. There's very few left tackles who could say that they're even on his level, let alone better. Trent Williams is probably the one that sticks out the most. Epinesa, keep it up. If nothing else, you increase trade value. But if you keep doing this, you're going to see the field a lot more than what a lot of Bills fans thought you would. The Buffalo Bills are usually guys who go with the best talent on the field, and so I'm very, very happy with seeing AJ Epinesa's performance today. I'm very happy to have heard about it and to really understand that the way I felt about AJ Epinesa is probably the right way, because I like AJ Epinesa. Plays 40% of the snaps, and he gets you 6 to 7 sacks every year. So I'm here for it. And Keon Coleman again, though. Keon Coleman was out there just ripping those routes. And again, he doesn't create great separation, but he has a good, like in wrestling, we call it a whizzer, when you can kind of rip your arm under somebody else's arm and kind of rip them away from you without pushing off, because you can't push off, but you can hook. And he's really, really good, at working within small spaces one-on-one. I mean, against Reek Woolen last year against Seattle was a really good example of what that looks like. And so now that he's put on some strength, a little bit of mass, like he was never really fast to get with, other than top end speed. Separation is not really his bag. So instead of doing the whole let's try and get quicker and lighter, he's like, to hell with that, let's get bigger and stronger. So that way when it comes time to it, when it's this 50-50 balls in the air, it's a 70-30 ball. Like, you're not getting this ball over me. You're gonna have to really out physical me, and it's not gonna happen. Not right now. He's basically trying to turn himself into like Brandon Marshall type deal. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember him. I know some of you guys are my age or older, but some of you guys aren't. And a lot of you guys don't pay attention to football outside of Buffalo, but some of you guys do. And so if you remember Brandon Marshall, when he was in the Broncos and the Jets and the Dolphins, he's been all over the league. And he was Ryan Fitzpatrick's favorite target when he was with the Jets. And I'll tell you what, if Keon Coleman can turn himself into something like that, that's going to be nasty. That's going to be nasty. Now, there were some injuries that occurred. Unfortunately, Khalil Shakir had himself a high ankle sprain, which is not a injury that's new to Khalil Shakir. He usually is healthy, but last year when he got hurt, it was a high ankle sprain. This year he's hurt, luckily very, very early. He knows the offense already. This is basically built around him. He can be injured right now and let the younger guys get some reps, and he should be fine. Like, I'm okay with Khalil Shakir being hurt at this point. It would suck more if it was like preseason week 2 or 3 and then he got hurt and then he's going to miss some regular season time. With this, he should not miss any regular season time. He should be back in time for the regular season. So that's looking up. We had Cole Bishop. He's injured on the injury report now. Shaq Thompson's on the injury report now. So the injuries starting to stack up. And so now we're seeing more Joe Andreessen, and we start seeing more Balin Spector, who I'm sure in about 15 minutes will also be popping up on the injury report. It's a concern at this point that we have so many injuries, but the people who are injured or newly injured, less concerning, except for Khalil Shakir. And even so, his injury isn't really that serious. But the man that stole the day, and I see it already, Sandra, so don't think I'm overlooking your comment. James Cook has begun his hold-in. He's not a holdout, right? Because he showed up to camp, so he cannot be fined, and he's going to hold in, which a lot of people thought he would do. And then when he came up and started practicing, people thought, oh, well, holding in is not what he's going to be doing. He's going to go out there and practice. And he said, I like my money. And then it got quiet. Right? Things got quiet with our boy, James Cook. People weren't talking about it as much. And so now the pot must be stirred. The Kool-Aid must be sweetened, and the holding begins. And, well, some of us saw this coming and some of us did not. Some of us thought that James Cook was going to be a guy who, just does the stand-up thing and practices every practice and does everything that is asked of him. And up until this point he has. But today is the day where he's like, I want my contract and I want my money, and you can't take any of my money that I already have now. So let's get this deal done. So yeah, the worry about James Cook has now stepped up a little bit. People are talking about trading James Cook, and some fans are like, hey, you signed his contract, buddy, honor it. And teams don't necessarily do that whole honoring contract either. Once your guaranteed money is up, and you know how the Bills do in their contracts, the Bills usually add an out to their contracts, right? So you'll sign a contract for 4 years, and after year two, there's an out. They can swiftly and abruptly show you the door, save a whole bunch of money, and bring somebody else in. And that's the nature of how the Bills do their contracts. You know it beforehand, though. Like there's no bait and switch with the Bills contracts. You know when you sign that contract that after a couple of years there is a potential cut, and then if they cut you or retain you is really up to you and your play. There's no mystery as to how the Buffalo Bills handle their business. Look at some of these comments here. My man John Robert comes in with Ryan Neeson will help the defense. I hope so. Because the defense last year, good turnovers, piss poor, overall production. It was bad. We were 31st in a bunch of categories, like third downs. Like how many third downs we had given up, to get a new set of downs. How often teams got into the red zone. Like there was a lot of stuff that was just piss poor by the defense last year. So hopefully, whatever help we can get, we get, because it was not pretty last year, and we need this defense to improve. And we did bring in guys, Joey Bosa, Landon Jackson, TJ Sanders, Deion Walker, who's having a pretty good camp, surprisingly to me, because I wasn't a Deion Walker guy. But also Larry Ogunjobi, Michael Hoyt, who will be suspended. They're having solid camps. They're running mostly with the twos and threes. They'll see more time later on, but as of right now, the story of the weekend is the injury to Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman just straight up abusing DBs, and the hold-in now from James Cook. We look even further down the line, right? And I have more of you guys' comments. So here we go. Hoping very much that Keon Coleman is the real deal. I keep my hopes up in check. Though after McKenzie dominated in camp a few years, yeah, I get you. Like every now and then we have that camp darling. I don't think that's what Keon Coleman is. Keon Coleman has actually done some things in the regular season to show us that he is a player who can play in the NFL, and hopefully he goes forward and shows that he's a guy who should be playing in the NFL, and so should be playing at a high level and is capable of being a top receiver for a team. Now, am I saying he's going to become a number one wide receiver, like a Stephon Diggs or an Amari Cooper was? I don't know. Am I hoping he does? Sure. That would be nice, right? After we sign him. Like if he gives us 3 years and we're like, okay, this is what you're worth. We offer him a contract, he signs it and then takes off. I'd be great with that. That'd be something I'm happy about. But we'll see what happens progressing. And hopefully he keeps on progressing. Let's see. Brandon Bean will just end up getting a compensatory for James Cook. Yeah, he will get a compensatory for James Cook, and that's fine. But if he trades him away, like everybody's talking about Micah Parsons and going to get him. Well, if you trade AJ Epinesa, you save $6 million. If you trade James Cook, you save 5, I think it is. So if you save 5 and 6, that's 11. That gives you room to sign someone like a Micah Parsons, but then you're going to definitely have to make some adjustments to the future. Am I saying that's going to happen? It's highly unlikely that it happens, but you just never know what they do, because there's rumors already that the Buffalo Bills have been interested in him, and there's also been rumors about Terry McLaurin, which I think is less likely. I think that the Micah Parsons target would be one that they look at more seriously, but no one's doubting that, because if you're not interested in Micah Parsons, you don't know ball. Period. Now, if the Buffalo Bills were to get rid of James Cook, he has $355,000 in dead cap space. We save over $5 million trading or cutting him. Granted, I don't think we're going to cut him. Obviously, he's an asset, but it's a thing. So you trade him, you put an Epinesa to sweeten the pot. So that way Dallas gets a pass rusher back. You send them a couple first-round picks. Boom. All right. So Taylor Rapp has a knee injury. I think I saw that too, but it's a lot of information that I've been taking in all day and trying to remember after a whole day of fishing. But I do appreciate the help. John Robert, you're always here to help. See, I'd take that trade any day, but you're right. We probably won't happen. It probably won't happen because just down the line, we're looking for that reprieve. But if it was to happen, I think that Bills fans will be fine with it. You know, if you're going to take your shot at a defensive end um, to help push your team over the proverbial edge, you'll want to go get one that's young. Micah Parsons is young. You know, I got one hair over here. It's all white in my mustache, messing it all up for everybody else. But you send AJ Epinesa, you send James Cook, hell, you send somebody else, you know, that's worth a damn and has a contract that's tradable. And man, oh man, you get yourself a dog like Micah Parsons. Like, who would complain about that? I know I wouldn't. I'd be happy as hell. I'd be happier than a pig in crap. Let's see. Put that up there. Let's see. So Epinesa. You'd send someone like a Daquan Jones, probably save a little money, or Elijah Moore. There's options. You know, you just get guys on this team that could be traded. See, the Cowboys should welcome the Buffalo Bills players and culture into their locker room. It would be a huge upgrade for them. That's true. You know, like the Buffalo Bills players going to Dallas would be players that know what winning football currently looks like in the NFL. Not like what Jerry did back in the 90s. This isn't 1996. This is not 1992, 93. Like, this is not those years where you have Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and all those guys on that team that were basically just cokeheads, you know, winning Super Bowls and, you know, just partying it up. You know, there's now it's a new era. There's social media, so you can't just go out there and be, you know, wrecking shop. You can't conceal an incident like Michael Irvin stabbing a defensive lineman in the neck with a pair of scissors because he won't get up from a barber shop. Like, there's nowhere to hide from that nowadays. So it's different, but yeah, just having guys who know what today's winning cultures look like, it would be very impressive. Probably to a lot of players in that locker room and helping them build, especially in AJ Epinesa, who he just kind of exudes leadership to me. He just seems like, even though he's not the guy who is, you know, putting up all the numbers, he just feels like a calming presence. So yeah, I would throw in next year's first. Parsons would get us over the edge for Super Bowl. I think so too. And I'm not saying throw in next year's first. Next year's first is a requirement in this trade. If you trade Epinesa and James Cook to Dallas for Micah Parsons, that's not it. That's not a heads up trade like that. No, he's worth them two and then probably 2 first-round picks. That's not a cheap trade at all. Like, you're gonna have to give them a couple of players, and then you're gonna have to give them a couple first-round picks. This would be a serious trade, and you're talking about getting nothing but Micah Parsons back in this trade. So you're trading assets and trying to get one of the big dogs in the NFL, but that big dog is nasty. It's nasty. Let's see. Trade Epinesa if it's for like a Micah Parsons, yeah. Like, I like Epinesa on the team, but we have a bounty of defensive ends on this team. Sandra L. King reports our Bills and Cook are not that far apart number wise. Bean should be able to get it done. So the number that they're far apart on is guarantees, from what I understand. But that could have been a rumor. That's not true. But I'm hoping that they get there. But if not, then, you know, I don't think many Bills fans want to see us sign James Cook to a deal that's worth 15 plus per year. Unless it's like they said, like a Saquon deal, like where he got the extension and it was like a 2-year deal for that much per year. That way you're not on the hook for that much. You know, you can kind of guarantee half of it and then 2 years, 15. I mean, that might work, but then they're going to have to put a bunch of void years probably at the end, depending on how big the cap goes up. So we'll see what happens there. Parsons not going anywhere. Jerry Jones told fans not to lose any sleep. Jerry Jones always does this. He does it to his best players where they come due their money and he doesn't really want to get it done early. So he ends up paying the maximum price because he's a freaking idiot. And, that's how Jerry Jones operates. He did it to DeMarcus Lawrence. He did it to freaking Ezekiel Elliott. He did it to CeeDee Lamb. He did it to Des Bryant. He's done it to all of his best players. Dak Prescott. I mean, and these are guys who a lot of Bills fans will be like, Dak sucks. Dak's a pretty damn good quarterback. Right? He's not Josh Allen level, but he's pretty damn good. And that's where that's at. Like if you're gonna pay somebody, don't wait till the last minute. Look what the Bills did, right? Before their last year in Buffalo Bills uniforms, Khalil Shakir, Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford, all guys who wanted to be here, told you they wanted to be here, and went and got the deals done early. The Eagles are the same way. They got ahead of Saquon Barkley's last year in his contract. They said, hey, we'll throw 2 more years on there for you for $42 million. How's that sound, Chief? And he's like $21 million a year. Let's do it. Highest paid running back in the NFL. Like, that's the Cowboys always screw this up because Jerry Jones. See, Brandon Beane will not trade 2 first-round picks. Okay. I will agree to disagree with that one. If he gets the right person, I bet you he would. Just because he hasn't done it yet doesn't mean he will never do it. And that's where I stand on that one. Sounds good to me, Sandra. There we go. All right. Jerry Jones pays more than he needs to. He always does. Jerry Jones is always freaking holding money hostage against his players. And it's like, dude, those are your best dudes. Why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. But, it is what it is. See, I feel like Cook feels disrespected because the other guys in that draft class all got extended this offseason, and he wanted higher than Benford, Bernard, and Shakir. He's not worth more than Benford, Bernard, or Shakir. Well, maybe Bernard. Bernard's a linebacker, so their numbers are a little bit, but more money than Shakir. Shakir's a receiver. It's a premium position. More money than Benford. Benford's a corner. It's a premium position. I'm sorry, but running back is just not that anymore. It's not how that works. And so you can feel that way, but the numbers just don't lie. Parsons is worth 2 firsts and those players. Agreed. No, it's not saying I don't like those players. It's not like I'd offer those 2 players up for just some bum, right? For Micah Parsons, those 2 players and 2 first-round picks, you are absolutely on the money with this. And even though I proposed a deal, to say throwing in this year's first is out of pocket, because this year's first-round pick coming up would have to be in the deal. So I'm just saying he was drafted higher, second round. No, I get it, but what were the numbers that they got? Like the guys who were drafted in the same class he got, did they get $15 million per year, or did they get less than that because they're lesser players, right? James Cook is going to be probably a tier above those guys, but to think that he's better than those guys is crazy to me. Unless you're talking about non-running backs, I might be misreading what you're saying. Okay, so now I'm gonna look at it from a different lens. I feel like Cook feels disrespected because the other guys in that draft class all got extended this offseason. Okay, so you're talking about the guys in the Buffalo Bills draft class that year. Got it. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine, but again, the position is what it is. Like you're not going to pay an outside linebacker, $30 million. It's just not going to happen. That person is going to have to be Ray Lewis. Like he's going to have to be a super beast of a linebacker to really be able to get that money. You only see guys at non-premium positions make stupid money when they are just so ridiculously good that they're undeniable, like Saquon Barkley, like Derrick Henry. Those guys are undeniable players. Like there's no way that you can just say, hey, we're going to offer you a contract and it's going to be a dog shit contract. And they're like, we're the best 2 running backs in the NFL. And the argument can be made. James Cook had just as many touchdowns as Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry had like 900 more yards total than than James Cook. So when you add up everything, and then the amount of snaps that they take, and then the amount of value they bring as a whole, James Cook's not in that ballpark with those guys. And I get it. Let me look at what Terrell Bernard's deal was again, because I'll be forgetting. So Terrell Bernard, his dead cap now is $14 million. Let's look at that tracked. So he is currently under contract until 2030, which is a void year. We have an out in his contract in 2028. He signed a 4-year, $42 million deal. If James Cook made more than Terrell Bernard, I wouldn't be mad at it. Again, linebacker was one of the positions I mentioned. Terrell Bernard is a middle linebacker for us, but we don't have a true Mike. He's truly just the guy who gets the headset. So if he got more than Terrell Bernard per year, I wouldn't be mad at that. But if he got more than Christian Benford or Khalil Shakir, you're out of your freaking mind. Not you, but the Bills would be. They'd be out of their freaking mind to do that. Because I'm looking at now, James Cook, Joey Bosa, Joshua Palmer. Where are you, man? Let's see. Shakir. He just signed a 4-year, $53 million contract. So that's 12 and a half. Just over $13 million per year. Or right around $14 million a year. If he gets paid somewhere between those two guys, Terrell Bernard and Khalil Shakir, I'd be okay. If he got paid more than Shakir, I'd be a little bit like, really? But I'm not here trying to count his money either. So let's see. Yeah, Bean isn't paying him what he wants. I'll miss him though. Best back we've had since Shady. Agreed with that. Yeah, agree with that. And look, I get it. Money's important, but it is a business. So life goes on. You get another running back, and you keep it pushing. But James Cook can be in that ballpark if we use him like that. We don't use it exactly. A reason why I don't think he's going to get the money that he feels he deserves. And maybe he does deserve it. Maybe if he gave him more carries, he'd put up 2,000 yards. Maybe he's a CJ2K type of guy who, if you just ran the hell out of him, he'd put those numbers up. But here's the thing. I don't know if you guys remember CJ2K. Very fast running back. They call him CJ2K because Chris Johnson ran for 2,000 yards in a season. One of only 8 or 9 backs to ever do that. And after that 2,000-yard season, it didn't last much longer. He had, 1 or 2 more good years, and then it was time to go. And so you can't run James Cook like that. You couldn't run CJ2K like that. It didn't last. So he got paid after that, and then the team sitting here hold a big old bag of dog shit and nothing to show for it. Because why? Because, you paid a running back after he just put all that mileage on them wheels. Can't do that. And so you got to run James Cook the way you're running him, because he's very, very productive while doing it, but you also got to pay him accordingly. And so somebody might overpay for him, but then he's going to go to a bad team with a bad O-line and maybe a decent quarterback. I mean, he's not going to have a good receivers, quarterback, and O-line on that team. He might have good receivers and a bad quarterback and a medium O-line, or it's going to be some combination that's not going to be conducive to him being good on the field. And he needs to go somewhere where he is going to see 50% of the reception of the runs, and then get that money that's conducive to that. I mean, think if he looked at it more of a economical way, for the amount of work he's putting in, the offers that he's getting are correct. Now, it'd be screwed up if the Buffalo Bills paid him $12.5 million a year and then ran him 65%. He got a 15 to 20% uptick in the amount of carries he's carrying, then you'd be like, hold up, like I took a discount, like because I thought I was worth 15, but you guys are like, I'm only getting 45% of the snaps, and then you sitting me here and then paying me this, and then all of a sudden, now that you've gotten the deal, you want to give me 65% of the workload? Like, no, like we're going back to where I was at. Like, so there's a lot of factors that go into this. So let's see what happens. You Cook holding in gives Ray Davis more reps. And look, last year I was impressed with Ray Davis. I'm sure a lot of you guys were too. Cook had 5 yards per carry, Davis had 4. But some of those catches Ray Davis was making, I don't think Cook makes those catches. Like that one catch where he has the one-hander for the first down, Josh Allen escaping. That's crazy. And then that 69-yard touchdown reception against the Dolphins, like James could catch a 69-yard touchdown reception, but is he doing it the way Ray Davis did? I don't think so. And then is he catching that laid out ball like Ty Johnson did against the Broncos? Like, no. But are those two guys going to take it 65 yards in the snow against the 49ers and no one catch him? And you look at him and he's moving just as fast in the snow as he would be on the grass, flips into the end zone. Like that electricity is there. But man, the negotiations I'm sure are tough. And so if the number isn't far apart, like someone said earlier, if you're not far apart, just get the deal done. Like, like cut the BS, get it done. So the guy I'm most anxious to see play in the regular season is Javon Solomon. I think he's going to be very special. He is doing very well in camp, right? Still not great against the run. But if you have 3rd and 18, you're sticking him out there with Bosa, baby. You have to. You're sticking him out there with Bosa. You're having those two guys just go. So that way they can get to the quarterback and stop Mahomes. Simple as that. Javon Solomon's got a great first step. He had 16 sacks his last year in college. The dude is a sack specialist, but he is an off-the-ball linebacker coming to the NFL to play defensive end. You can literally just let him play off-the-ball linebacker as if he's a defensive end. Then you got Bosa, your 2 defensive tackles, and then him standing, and just let him rush Lorenzo Alexander style, like we've been talking about with Michael Hoyt. You could have a different combination of things by the time the year's said and done. But let's say it's him and Epinesa out there. Epinesa is also very good at rushing the passer. Let's say, our boy Joey Bosa is tired or it's serious down where you really need a high percentage guy. Javon Solomon can get there, man. I really do like Javon Solomon's game. It's been very, very good in camp thus far, and he's been showing a lot of promise. And I love the way we're interacting with these comments, guys, because you guys are reminding me of stuff that I might be forgetting during the show. So keep them coming. Like, this is fun. All right. See, trade James Cook and 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons. You'd also have to throw in like an AJ Epinesa. We did have this conversation earlier in the show. I don't know if you were here for it, but my proposal was AJ Epinesa, James Cook, and 2 first-round picks. You get Micah Parsons. That way you send them back a defensive end. We have way too many defensive ends, and also 2 first-round picks and James Cook is not enough compensation for Micah Parsons. It's just not. But you can go back after I'm done with the show and check it out. That was a whole 10-minute skit on here of me just rambling about it. All right. Hell, Cook can't kick a field goal like Davis did. That's true. Davis did kick a 31-yard field goal in camp. So Ray Davis is giving us multi-positional usage, or what's the word I'm looking for here that's escaping my mind? Versatility, position versatility. See, let's appreciate last year with Cook, because we do have an amazing RB room with Davis and Johnson as well. Hoping that what Steve has said is true, and Solomon can be special. Maybe learn some shit from Hoyt. And don't forget Bosa. Like, there's another dog in the room, and that's Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa is another guy who can really go out there and teach some of these younger cats how to do stuff, right? It's going to be interesting, what these guys can learn from these older gentlemen who are being brought in. And I know Hoyt's only like 26, 27 years old, but he's been in the league for like 4 or 5 years for the Rams, and so he can drop some knowledge. But don't slip on Bosa, man. Don't sleep on Bosa. Bosa's a guy who can really teach, these young guys. And I think that's another reason why they brought him in, not just to go out there and be the difference maker, but also to help teach our younger guys to be difference makers too. There's a lot of different ways to contribute to a team. $12.5 million means he's definitely going to be on the field, but I definitely think that he's going to be a guy who helps teach these young cats. See, Sandra, 100% on something. I don't know what it is, but yeah. And Christopher Homer, that's because James Cook would score the touchdown. Yeah, that's true. James Cook scores touchdowns, and lots of them. He didn't always, though. Remember, last year, not 2024, but 2023 season, he only had like 6 total touchdowns, rushing and passing. And then the year before that, he only had like 4. So he's grown into this player. And let's see if he can maintain it too. Like if he goes out this year, I don't know if he scores 18 touchdowns this year. I don't think he will score 18 touchdowns. That's crazy. That's a high number for any running back, period. If he goes out there and scores 12 touchdowns, like the price tag goes up. It goes up. At that point, they can franchise tag him if they want to, which is also an option. So I know I saw one that said that appreciated last year with James Cook. I think it was Greg Rogowski, but the franchise tag is an option. Oh, there goes Greg again. See, I don't even want to speak his name. I'm scared of jinxing him. Yeah. See, I like that James Cook has learned every year. That's true. James Cook is learned every year. And that's exactly what I was saying. It's like he increased his touches, he increased his touchdowns, he's increased his yardage from year 1 to year 2, but year 3, yardage was down, but efficiency was up. So he turned on the efficiency, and all of a sudden James Cook looks like a world beater. But I think a lot of that has to do with the scheme. Joe Brady is a guy whose scheme is really good. It's really good. Let's see. All right. Let's see. James Cook. Let's see what his estimated value is. James Cook. Market value for James Cook, $10.2 million average annual salary. According to SpotTrack, market value 4 years, $40 million or $41 million roughly. They have him comparable value with Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley. I don't know about those last two because that's pretty crazy. Tony Pollard way lower than James Cook and Saquon Barkley way higher. But David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs, like the Josh Jacobs deal looks perfect. $12 million a year, $48 million 4 years. That would be a perfect deal for me. If they can get him on the Josh Jacobs deal, hook me up, baby. See, I agree, but he's very tough to bring down. Look at the Ravens game. If you're talking about James Cook still, yes, he is very tough to bring down. You're not arm tackling him, and he put on some weight, from what I understand, to be able to bounce off of people more. And last year, you saw that, like even in the Lions game, they grabbed him by the hair, and he was just like, he's built up some core strength, and so that's good. He's also maintained the speed, so that's good. Let's see. Don't they have to be a first-round pick to get franchise tag? No. So you're thinking the 5th-year option. So a first-round pick, just like every other round, signs a 4-year deal with the team that picks them. Now, first-round picks and first-round picks only get a 5th-year option. So after the first 3 years of that contract, the team that drafted them can say, okay, we like what we're seeing. We're going to go ahead and enact the 5th-year option. Right? It happens after the 3rd year, which is also the year they become eligible for an extension. So usually if a player is worth that 5th-year option, usually they'll get an extension, and the 5th-year option will be an extra year of border before the big deal comes in. So, like when Josh Allen's 3rd year happened, his first year was Stephon Diggs, and his numbers just skyrocketed. The Buffalo Bills said, "Let's get ahead of this. We're going to go ahead and enact that 5th-year option, bam, and then we're going to sign him to this massive, 6-year, 200 and I think it was 226 million at the time, uh, and get ahead of it." And Josh was perfectly fine for it, but as they say, the new contract doesn't kick in until that 6th year, right? So with a player like James Cook, who's a 2nd-round pick, he doesn't have a 5th-year option. So the franchise tag is what they would be able to use for him. Now, let's say you have a team that, in a rare case where they do a 5th-year option, but they don't get a deal done with that player. Usually this happens with quarterbacks. The quarterback and the team can't agree to contract because the team kind of can't afford it or whatever it is, or they're not positive. They just want to one more year to tell, or two, they can franchise tag that player and keep him on longer. Problem is, when you franchise tag someone, you have to pay them, I believe it is the average annual salary of the top 5 players in that position. So you look at quarterbacks, it's like you take Tua, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow's contracts, I think, are the top QB contracts at this point. The average annual salary of all those, so you take all those, average them out, that's the franchise tag. The offensive line makes Cook look better. How would he be with a bad O-line? That's true. These freaking gnats keep hitting my nose. A good O-line. We have the 2nd or 3rd best offensive line in football. The Eagles clearly the best, right? So we're 2 or 3 offensive line wise, and so James Cook is benefiting from that. But let's not pretend that we're not also benefiting from the fact that he runs 4.42 speed. Let's not pretend like his contact balance isn't outstanding. Let's not pretend like he hasn't improved them hands, for this past year. Let's not pretend like his breakaway speed isn't insane. Like he's still you still have to have the talented back, but every back still needs an offensive line. Very few players, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, can do it with no offensive line. That being said, yes, he's benefiting from the O-line, but let's pump our brakes here and act like he's not a big factor in that. He certainly is. Who the F is in charge of our strength and conditioning? We can't stay healthy so we actually have a new strength and conditioning coach this year. And I don't know if it's on him or if these are just lingering issues from the before, but I know that Sean McDermott hired a new strength and conditioning coach this year. So hopefully they can get behind this and take care of that, because I agree with you, too many injuries. Kebby's back in the house. Let's go. Do you think the Bills will sign Cook? If so, when? If not soon, they won't. Simple as that. And I don't think, as you said in the next comment, we're doomed. There were running backs in this draft class. Like if the Bills said, you know what, he wants this new deal, he's talking all this crap, let's trade him now. And let's say they traded him, and they got like a 3rd-round pick. There's guys that are out there that I liked, that I really, really liked, that went to the teams, like Trevion Henderson. Like there's just a bunch of guys who I loved. I liked Judkins, but he pulled a Ray Rice, and here we are. So thank God we didn't pull the trigger on that one. But I also love Ray Davis. So if you look at the very small serving size of Ray Davis starting, which was one game last year when James Cook was injured, Ray Davis had a nice little 97-yard game. So I don't know. I'm not going to count him out, nor am I going to say he's better than Cook or anything like that. I'm not going to say anything that's wild, but I think that James Cook is a damn good running back. I'd say top 5 to top 10 in the NFL. You've got your tiers. You've got, Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. Then you got like Jonathan Taylor. You've got James Conner, I think, is up there. But yeah, let's see. Cook's career longevity with the Bills without destroying his body with overuse is worth money in itself. It is and it isn't. And here's why. You still have to get the workload out of him. Now, if you pay him a bunch and you get the load out of him 1 year, then you're shortening his career, and that contract becomes stupid. So there's science there. We'll call it science. See, I would rather sign Connor McGovern than James Cook. There's a whole camp for that, and I understand. And there's also a camp that says I would rather sign him and David Edwards. And then also after this year, we got to sign Osiris Torrance. Where's this money coming from? Like, I know the cap's going to go up, but we'll see. See, we better sign Cook. Period. Hey, there's a whole camp for that too. I love James Cook. We'll see what happens. Okay, so you can use the franchise tag on any player. Thanks for explaining. Yeah, any player. Like I don't know if you remember this, but the Commanders, when they were the Redskins, drafted RG3, and in the same draft class they drafted Kirk Cousins, right? And so they did not use RG3's fifth-year option. They let him walk because of the injury. But Kirk Cousins got franchise tagged twice. And he was a fourth-round pick. So any player can get franchised, even if they weren't drafted by you. Let's say Joey Bosa does dope. He's got some void years, but the Bills could franchise tag him next year, which I don't think is going to happen. Like, that's a long shot, like the longest long shot. Or let's say Elijah Moore, goes for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, and oh my God, he's our number one guy. Palmer who? Like, let's say something like that happens. The Bills could franchise tag him too. Ray got skills. Ray does got skills. He does. See, Connor hikes the Bills' highest paid player. That's true, but that's like, I get it. It's important, but so salary cap isn't real per Dan F. And Brandon Bean told him it is. I do love Dan Fates though. Dan Fates is hilarious, and he has some hot takes that I do and don't like, but I do love me some Dan Fates because he's a character. He's a very good character. I like it. See, Bishop is freaking soft. I never liked that pick. Hey, some picks will be for you and some picks will not. I like Cole Bishop. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's not looking great as of right now. Being injured again. See, my point was Cook should take a little less to play longer without that. So that was a point I was kind of making earlier. Like, if you're only seeing 45% of snaps, but you're still getting paid in that mid top tier running back, then take your money, man, and save your body. Like, he's talking about, I want more touches. It's like, okay. You remember how your brother's career kind of was up here, and then he got paid. They gave him more touches, and that right there, it is what it is. Too many running backs get used up quick and live a life of pain. They do. See, this O-line isn't going to last either. Appreciate it now. We can't keep McGovern and Edwards. One is going. I think we keep McGovern. So Edwards is the less expensive option. And they did draft a center last year. My preference is McGovern because he can play guard and center. But the business side of this makes it ugly. Very, very ugly. But, just because this O-line doesn't last doesn't mean that we won't have good lines going forward. Osiris Torrance, good pickup. David Edwards was, a cheap player. The highlight of this offensive line is truly Aaron Cromer, the offensive line coach, where he's able to take players who schematically don't fit sometimes and makes them fit. Like, he just, okay, well, Osiris Torrance, you're more of a power blocking guy, like you're strong and you're not very fast, but you're strong and you can stonewall people like, Chris Jones from Kansas City. You can stonewall people like, Quentin Williams from the Jets, but you're not going to be a guy who's able to get out in front of them on a stunt because you're a power dude, like you're really big and strong. And David Edwards, you're more of an agile type offensive lineman. You're good at redirecting people and making sure that they don't get to your quarterback by being in their way. And then Deion Dawkins, you're more of a foot speed type of guy. You're a guy who is out there, and for 330 pounds, you're nimble as hell. Then you look back to the other side again. You go, well, Spencer Brown, you are a big, massive human being who's very, very strong, and have learned how to use that size and strength to be one of the best right tackles in football. Those guys don't always fit together on a team, but Aaron Cromer can go to a team and make those guys fit. Let's see. It's the pizza parties, bro. It might be the freaking pizza parties. The pizza parties are a thing, man. The pizza parties are a thing. Tylen Grable played guard today. Let's go, Tylen Grable. Dude, I love that pick, man. I didn't love it when we drafted him because of how raw he was, but I was like, it's a 6th-round pick, And now he's out here dog walking defensive lineman. Like, hell yeah. Lord have mercy, I've been active all day. But it's been a good camp in Rochester for these boys, other than the injuries. Names at wide receiver that I've heard: Christian Wilkerson and Deon Cain, who we just re-signed back to the team. He was on the team last year during training camp too. And lo and behold, he's back, and him and some of these other guys are making noise. Last year it was White Steve, as they call him. This week is Deon Cain and Christian Wilkerson. And I don't know who's going to be next week, but when you have, Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir hurt, some of these guys are going to get some reps with Josh. And apparently, Christian Wilkerson has been having his reps with Josh increased because he's been flashing. We'll see what happens. I know Tyrell Shavers is injured. Curtis Samuel's injured. Khalil Shakir's injured. Joshua Palmer got nicked up a little bit. Keon Coleman's out there freaking lighting fires and kicking people's asses into it. I don't know what the hell's going on with him, like what got in his freaking cereal, but that dude's on a mission. And then, man, these young guys, Josh is just laser beaming it in. And apparently Deon Cain had a nice catch on the sideline, toe drag swag on him. It's been different. It's been fun, but it's been different in camp this year. And so I'm very happy with what I'm hearing, at the same time worried about the injuries. And man, I hope that the positives I'm seeing stick. I'm hoping that some of the negative stuff that I'm seeing gets sorted out because, man, it's going to be crazy. There we go. John Robert right here. Steven Gosnell. I forgot the last name, but I remember they called him White Steve. His reps are increasing also. We don't get a lot of information, like unless you're there. And again, I'm in North Carolina. I live down here. I'm about 3 hours from home right now in a beautiful spring something. What town am I in right now? No. I think that's the name of the grounds I'm on, spring something, but I'm in Aurora, North Carolina. 74 degrees right now. It's beautiful out here, dude. We got an Airbnb. We are above the garage in this Airbnb, and it's just woods. Lovely out here, dude. It's awesome. Check this out. I'll unplug this for just a second. We're out here by the water. That's the inlet that goes to the ocean. If you go that way, the ocean's right over there. But this is a river here. It's awesome, dude. This is so nice. The air is fresh. It's not humid or hot this weekend. It's been hot down here, 100 degrees for like the past week and a half. And then this weekend, it decides to cool down and give us an awesome vacation weekend of fishing and hanging out. So let's enjoy the weekend. But man, I'm hoping that we see some of these guys get out the training room soon. Hopefully, the training camp injuries will result in a healthy season. Yeah, I'm hoping that too. There's a lot of injuries during training camp. We should rest our starters until game one. Uh, you're talking about game one of the regular season, or are you talking about game one of preseason? Because it's a big difference. The Bills' first preseason game is Saturday against the Giants. Yep. And it's a preseason game. I'm sure I'll watch the highlights. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we have a ton of depth. The only position I'm really worried about truly right now is linebacker. TB seems almost as injury prone as Milano. We need guys behind them who can play. Yeah, check it out. I like Joe Andreessen and I like Dorian Williams, but Dorian Williams also came to camp injured. So, like, if you look at our linebackers, I don't think it's just a spurting guy, but like, look a couple years ago, we had to call AJ Klein to come play next to an also injured Tyrell Dodson, right? Tyrell Dodson was injured. He played injured. And then AJ Klein came off the RV to play for us. We've talked about this so many times, but it's like the whole position group seems to get hurt. And it's because, in my opinion, we stay with smaller linebackers, right? Our linebackers are smaller dudes. They're 230 smaller, usually 6'1", 6'2", and they're going against big boys. And there are ebbs and flows in the NFL. There are ebbs and flows. Like sometimes you get a guy like a Ray Lewis or a Brian Urlacher. You get someone like that who the ebbs and flows don't affect. This dude's just a beast no matter what. And then sometimes you get guys like Matt Milano or like a Dorian Williams or Terrell Bernard where they're 226 pounds and their body just doesn't hold up as well when the ebb comes and the flow is out. So Matt Milano had his ebb when he was younger and was just dogging it. But the transition of the NFL is inevitable. When you have big, strong running backs like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor and name another one, Ramondre Stevenson, big boy running back. Like when you have big boy running backs running the NFL, your linebackers are probably going to get a little bit bigger. And then when you get too big at linebacker in the NFL and teams start using smaller backs like James Cook, right? Then you got guys who can evade those big boys and you get smaller again. It's just the shifts and the motions of the NFL. I'm ready. I mean, regular season. That's a long time to not have them in there. They probably still have a lot of stuff they have to work on. See, they don't make them like Ray anymore. They kind of did though. Like Roquan Smith is a dog. Freaking Fred Warner is a dog, but like Ray Lewis is like a once in a generation guy. We'll see if we get another one like Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed. Like there was two of those once in a generation guys in that generation. That's crazy, right? But what safety have we talked about since those two, who are like, that's the guy right there, guy like in the NFL, that's him. Like it's been a while. Lately, it's been defensive tackles. Chris Jones and Quentin Williams, just beasts on the defensive line. That's kind of where the focus has been the last few years. But there's going to be another beast of a linebacker that comes up and just takes over the league. There's always been a guy. You just don't have that guy right now unless you're talking Roquan Smith, who I think is underrated, in my opinion. See, Michael Hoyt has also played linebacker, so he could be depth there. He could be depth all over the place. Defensive line on the outside especially. Probably rush from the inside too. And then at linebacker is a dog. Like a Bruce. We need a Bruce. Look, Bruce, that's truly once in a lifetime. About 200 career sacks. That's craziness. And then there was him and Reggie White, same era. 200 sacks and then 192 sacks. Crazy. But guys, that is my show. Go Bills. I'll see you guys next week. And enjoy your families this weekend because that's what I've been doing. You guys take care. Love you all. Go Bills.